Thank you. May he rest in peace. Roll call.
Commissioner Rivers? Absent. Commissioner Way?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Flowers?
Here.
Commissioner West? Here.
Great. Next item is adoption and approval of agenda. Does anybody have any modifications to the agenda?
No.
Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Great. Next is public comment. Looks like we have a few members of the public here, so anyone may approach the podium. Chris, can you drop 5 minutes on there? Okay. What do you want? Yeah, go on.
Good afternoon, Nicholas Binder, 232 Big Magnolia Court, St. Augustine Beach, Florida. I'm here to talk about a new business item, item D, Ocean Hammock Park Beach Access. You don't have any permits in front of you right now. The history goes back more than a decade. When I got involved in 2006 in trying to get a beach access, the location was already set. The city was received as part of negotiation 2 acres of property. Most of the 2 acres was the front of Ocean Hammock Park, and there was a stretch on the southern part of Ocean Hammock Park that went to the ocean. That information was all decided years before that. It took 3 years to get the walkway constructed. It was items for discussions between the residents of that area. It was a 4-1 vote. In the construction of that walkway, I suggested that the city public works director will look at what's happened at Ocean Hammock, at Fort Mantazza National Monument in terms of their walkways, where they were using Trek for their decking versus regular pressure-treated wood. Let me also say I volunteered 14 years with the National Park Service down in Fort Mantazza. My background is undergrad in civil engineering, master's in environmental engineering, licensed professional engineer in New Jersey, retired status. Worked on the construction of the New Jersey Turnpike in the 1960s when it expanded from 3 lanes to 6 lanes. During my 3 decades with the Department of Environmental Protection in New Jersey, I served as an expert witness in water pollution matters, and also I was in charge of the construction program in wastewater and water for the department. So when I came down here, I wanted to volunteer. I volunteered at Fort Mantazza, learned things there, shared it with the city of St. Augustine Beach. That additional cost for the walkway cost $70,000 for the trek. The public works director at the time, Mark Chatton, felt it was a good item spent because it protected and prevented future maintenance issues with the walkway. They would have loved to put in the Trek or composite walk handles and railings and everything, but they spent over $30,000 for a safety fence between the walkway and Sea Colony. Why do I go through the history? Because March 7th, 2022, 3 residents of Sea Colony came in when we were supposed to be talking about bathrooms at Ocean Hammock Park, and they said, look at this wonderful house that was built adjacent to the walkway. The house was just finished 2 months before. The walkway's been there since 2008, 2009. Residents of the whole community, various communities, Bermuda Run, Ocean Reef, Anastasia Dunes, Whispering Oaks, all use that walkway. Residents of Sea Colony also use the walkway. Residents in other parts of St. Augustine Beach also use the walkway. So we've been dealing with this issue since March 7th. I think the Sea Colony folks felt it was going to be a rollover since so many of the commissioners live or have friends living in Sea Colony. Since that time, a petition with over 150 names has been signed to prevent the changes of that walkway. The proposal from the city before all this came up was to enhance Ocean Hammock Park and do a connecting walkway from the existing walkway to the pavilion area. No further beach access. We never felt another beach access necessary. It's stabilized. You have the turtles below it. You have the ponds around it. Kids love watching the turtles when they're out. Once in a while, you'll see a snake on the walkway. Again, this is an elevated walkway. So part of the discussion has been all the way through not to have another beach access point. I'm bringing this up because I understand it may not have a permit in front of you yet, but I want to give you some background in that history all the way through. Thank you, and I'll talk later on after you have some questions on the item D. Thank you.
Sir, would you say your name? I didn't catch your name. What's
Ms. Binder?
Bender, B-E-N-D?
B-I-N-D-E-R.
B-I-N-D, okay.
Yep.
Oh, just for the taxpayers, because we don't have an agenda packet or anything in any
Say again?
video. Can I ask you a question on behalf of the taxpayers here? We don't have an agenda packet. Where is the community you're talking about, Ocean Hammock?
No, I'm talking about Ocean Hammock Park, item D on the new
Right,
business
but
item.
for the
And
taxpayers.
Sea Colony are the residents who tried to have it prevented back in 2007, and the Commissioner of the City of St. Augustine Beach voted 4-1 to put the walkway in, because after 3 years of discussion, it felt time was long enough. At that time, the City of St. Augustine Beach only had access to 2 acres. The other acres were owned by private developers. Since that time, 16 more acres were purchased from the developers, and then more recently, 4.5 acres were purchased. So the City of St. Augustine Beach owns all the property in Ocean Hammock Park right now.
And Ocean Hammock Park is where generally located?
If you know where Public Shopping Center is down the road.
Okay, south of here.
You go up a quarter of a mile on the right-hand side.
Okay, and would any of this be available for actual public access?
It's public access right
It's
now.
all, okay, very good.
And we feel that what they have right now is adequate public access. Obviously, you need some maintenance work on the hand railings and the side railings because they're 15 years old. It was pressure-treated wood. Again, as I mentioned, money was spent for a safety fence between that walkway and Sea Colony. The $30,000, $40,000 was allocated for the composite handrails and everything. It wouldn't have been that much of an issue. But does need some maintenance, but the decking is Trek composite, been there, long-lasting, good shape.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Any further questions right now?
Not yet. I think we'll probably address any more.
Okay.
In the
Get to
the
the
agenda
agenda
item.
item.
Thank you. Any other public comment? No more members of the public. Government representative comments.
Good afternoon, Pat Harvey with the City of St. Augustine Marine Unit. All the other folks from the county and FWC are not here. They're either deployed down south or they're teaching a class. Just a quick update on the post-hurricane vessels that are displaced, adrift, whichever word you want to use. They've all been placarded with the new 45-day placard, so the owners are either being tracked down or technically now we can't touch them for 45 days. The one that was on the seawall was removed because it was an emergency issue. The city will probably talk about that more, but it was a danger to everyone from being climbed on and things like that, kind of like the last one that we removed earlier. But that was removed earlier last week. We had to pull it. Go ahead.
I have a question. How many vessels are we looking at, just in terms of our budget for derelict vessel removal?
We have 9 that have been displaced. However, that being said, I believe there's 4-ish. So I know that's a...
4 new ones?
No.
Oh.
4-ish that are going to be removed by the owners.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
Because they're working on their own cranes, they're working on their own method of removal at this point.
Great.
But none of them are in any of the waterways, there are not any exigent circumstances to them, they're all either up on shore, mangroves, things like that.
Okay.
The only one that was an issue was the red sailboat up along the seawall downtown, but that has been removed.
Got it.
Is the one, the motor vessel right at the entrance of San Sebastian, that's been now? 'cause
Yeah,
it's-
that was pre-storm as well,
Yeah,
ma'am.
so
So
it's-
that has actually been taken care of, and the city's working on having those removed. That's already passed their 90 days. So
Okay.
that one is ready to be removed.
Okay.
So just
Thank you.
Thanks.
Eric Malden, Harbor Master, City of St. Augustine. I just wanted to inform you guys the pilings in Salt Run have now been replaced.
Yay.
They're done.
Both of those pilings?
Yeah, I'm at Hayward Construction. I met them at the boat ramp, just coincidental, and noticed them fixing those. Went by there today, and they are in fact upright and standing. So
That's great.
Just wanted to let you guys know.
Thank
that
you
stuff.
so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Corey Seckard, City of St. Augustine, Deputy Director, General Services. I'm here to ask, we have applied for the Florida Inland Navigation District to remove 3 derelict vessels that the SAPD has given us authorization to remove. One of those was the one on the bayfront. The other one is the one you mentioned, Commissioner Flowers, right at the entrance of the San Sebastian River. And then the other one is tied up to a civilian dock in Salt Run. And for that, we would ask, the city would like to ask if the port would apply the 25% applicant's cost in the amount of $6,891.25. The application is already defined for the other 75% of those 3 vessels.
Question, Mr. Corey. The one tied to a private dock, the government doesn't usually go get boats off a private dock.
It broke loose, and then Officer Harvey can talk to more about, securing that vessel, but he's turned it over to the city to go ahead and move forward with removing that derelict
It's
vessel.
currently tied up to somebody's private dock, though?
Yes, ma'am.
It would sure be nice to have a mooring ball dedicated for those things, would it not?
We do have one.
We
that
do,
is dedicated for those. However,
Okay.
this is pre-storm, it was anchored legally. I'm sorry, Pat Harvey with the City of St. Augustine. The pre-storm, it was anchored legally. The gentleman has passed away. It's already been in our derelict process. We have not hit our 90-day removal yet. It did break loose during the storm, hit several other boats as usual, kind of bounced around a little bit. It did come to rest on a private dock off of Lou Boulevard, I believe 924 Lou Boulevard. They were nice enough to throw a line on it.
So they tied it off
So
for
they
you,
tied
which
it
is
off
very
for us,
kind.
Which was very kind at
Yes.
that point, so it saved us from other issues. I did give the city the authorization to remove it because of those circumstances. And the fact that it is now free-floating.
How much did the red boat, the crane operation cost?
Well, the crane operation on that was actually $12,000.
Junk.
You do it from the water or the road?
They did it from the road.
They drove it out. Watched it
Would've been
drive
more
right
from the
past
water.
Ripley's. It was wild. So 6,800 for 3 boats is the ask. Is that right? Roughly?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve that expenditure?
May I ask just one more question? We already have, this is part of our budget already, right? Derelict boat, so we don't need an application for this because, okay, I make a motion to approve that.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And just for the record, Commissioner Rivers is here now. Hi. Good. Any other government representatives? Doesn't look like it. Secretary Treasurer's report.
This was as of September 30th. Basically, this was the end of the fiscal year of what our expenditures were. So for the police overtime, $8,000 that we commit. For budget, $38,60 was spent. In the Sheriff's Department overtime, of the $25,000 committed, $20,550 was spent. And the derelict boats, of the $25,000 that we commit, $12,400 was spent. The $1.5 million, we know what that was used for Parks and Rec. And in the State Board of Administration Fund A, we have $23,364 as of 9/30. In the South State Bank operating account, we have $397,454. In the money market, we have $1,112,000 or $113,000, and that. And our taxes, we've received all the tax money we're going to receive. Of the $621,000 that was budgeted, we received $623,000. The $2,600 that was more than what we budgeted for was from prior year. And that's pretty much it. This starts the new year.
Miss Elise, can you tell, where is the $330,000 set aside for the city of St. Augustine Beach to do their walkovers? I don't.
It comes out of the reserve account.
Reserves.
Yeah,
Okay,
they
so
have
that,
not
I
actually.
see all kinds of other projects here unspecified and et cetera, but I don't see
Yeah,
anything
we
set
don't,
aside for
yeah,
that.
but we haven't paid any of that.
Okay, but that's being earmarked in our budget. It's just not on here. Okay,
Yes,
very good.
and it's going to be for this fiscal year, this new fiscal year, too.
Can I ask you one question? When we approve a grant like that, when do we normally give an entity the money, actually cut the check for the project?
When they come forward with the invoice after the work usually is done.
So normally, we don't cut a check until the work is done.
Normally, no.
That would sound right. Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions on Secretary Treasurer's report? Hearing nothing. Next will be approval of minutes. We have actually 3 sets of minutes to approve. The September 15th regular meeting, the September 15th first public hearing for trim, and then the October 4th final public hearing for trim. Did anybody have any modifications to any of those minutes they wanted to make or suggest? No?
We accept the minutes for September 15th, 2022.
For the regular meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We'll also need motions.
I can't vote on the last 2 meetings, so just so you realize, I'm just eyeing on the original, the September regular.
And I apologize for interrupting, but I'll make sure I get these correct. The second for that motion was which commissioner? I had a motion by Rivers.
Actually, nobody did, but I'll second it.
I thought you did. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun there. Phantom second. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes for the first public hearing of for September 15th?
I'll go ahead and move.
So moved. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And finally, a motion for the minutes for the October 4th final trim hearing.
Move again on trim.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Engineering report.
Yes, sir. A couple of updates. Fighting through a supply chain issue, some contractor equipment delays, and Tropical Storm Ian, the channel markers and Salt Run have finally been replaced. So that's all taken care of. Then the other update was just post-Ian impacts in the area, kind of hit or miss depending on where you are. Certainly not as bad as Southwest Florida, but still some pretty significant impacts in different areas. The Army Corps has estimated anywhere from 300 to 500,000 cubic yards of loss on the beach in St. Augustine Beach. The Volano Beach portion, another about 500,000 cubic yards of losses. They are in the process of designing emergency beach fill projects for both of those. They would, if they stick to their schedule, it'll be summertime of next year before they're out there actually pumping sand. And both those projects will be going offshore, not to the inlet to get their sand.
Right.
That's my update.
Good. Any questions for?
I do. You may have seen that St. Johns County Commissioner Henry Dean is proposing a buyout of the homes in Summer Haven on Old A1A. Are you keeping the county informed with the work that you have previously done in Summer Haven?
We're not involved with Summer Haven at all.
At all anymore? Okay. All right. That's all I needed to know.
Since you brought that up, though, I would like to mention that we've been buying lots. The county has been purchasing lots down there already at $200,000 each and calling it open recreation, but I can't even park down there to get to those lots. Just a note on how much money that's spent, at least twice, if not more.
All right, next item is new business. A, emergency requests, city breakwater dock repair. Corey Sackard.
Back again. Good afternoon. Today we have a request in, and I believe I forwarded Elise a packet of our grant application to the Florida Inland Navigation District for emergency repairs to the city breakwater dock, or not just the breakwater dock, to the city docks sustained during Hurricane Ian. In our opinion, the breakwater did its job. It saved the other docks by blocking a lot of the storm surge and a lot of the wave action, and Eric, our harbor master, will talk to that in a little more detail with the list of damages that we have. In the application, I hope you got to see some of the pictures and some of the work that the breakwater did during the storm. We are asking the Florida Inland Navigation District for $250,000, and we would actually like to ask the Port Waterway and Beach District for another $250,000 while we're trying to secure FEMA funding for public assistance. Currently, in the application, our application is into FEMA for that grant also, and then we will be defending this grant application next month down in Palm Beach County in front of the fine commissioners. At this time, I'd like to let our harbor master go into a little more detail to some of the damages that were sustained to the docks.
Eric Malden, City of St. Augustine. After Hurricane Dorian, we did a lot of repairs to the dock to strengthen it. So the dock was in excellent shape for this storm. However, the 48 hours of continual winds did just a number on the dock. It has its big benefit as far as it protects the entire marina. What it does is it just sacrifices itself sometimes to the weather, and it allows us to operate the next morning after a storm to be able to allow our customers to get fuel, pump out water, any marina operations. What was caused from this storm, the big ticket items, was that there's 15 pilings that are actually leaned over 2, 3, 4 degrees, and some of them that are actually broken or cracked and are twisting as well. So that's where the big ticket item's going to come from this repair.
And that's all on the breakwater?
Yes, yeah, it's actually 15 of them in a row. That's the
Ooh, it
first time
broke them all?
Yes,
Ooh.
yeah. There's about 50 so pilings on that dock altogether. This is the first time we've had this type of damage from any other storms, so this is unique. Along with some wood members, some whalers, some rods, structural parts that go along with it. And then we have mitigating options as well that we put into the bid as far as strengthening this dock so that we don't have to do this again.
That was going to be my first question is there something, because this one was built to last 20, but lasted about 5, right?
Yeah, we built it in 2013-ish, 2012, 2013.
Oh, okay, so it's been a little while.
Yeah,
then.
and it was kind of built well before Hurricane Matthew, all of those, so it never really, we didn't get a whole lot of weather the extent that we've had over the past 5 to 6 years. So it's really been put up to the test over the past few years.
Okay.
So Corey, I'm sorry, go ahead. So Corey, you're asking for $250 from Find and then $250 from the port.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you a question. Is the dock not insured?
No, the dock is not insured.
The city has no insurance on the dock. That's hard for me to believe.
One of the additional items that when we're applying for the FEMA public assistance money to go ahead and repair these docks, one of the items they look at is mitigation and what can we do to strengthen or harden the docks. They will only pay up to 10%. When we initially installed the Breakwater dock, and then subsequently from Irma repaired the south and central docks, they went with taller pilings. So one of the mitigation, we actually have a bid open, or we have a pre-bid meeting tomorrow on the docks for this project.
Is that with Billingham or just to put bids out?
It is an open request for bids for any marine construction contractor to come out and be a part of that pre-bid meeting. It is not mandatory, but they're most definitely invited to come to really get a good look at the docks and ask questions to the harbor master and see what needs to be replaced. But in that, one of the asks, why we're asking the port and Find, is that we want to make this Breakwater dock more storm resistant if possible. So in some of the mitigation options for the first section of the bid is to repair it to as pre-storm conditions. The second half of the bid is offering 2 mitigation options to further harden the facility in future storms. And one of the ones that I mentioned that we went with taller pilings on the south and central docks following Irma. They are actually taller than the Breakwater dock, so that would give the Breakwater dock a little more resiliency for future storms.
Is any of this money going to go to fixing something besides the Breakwater dock?
Well, yes, it's also the, go ahead.
A majority of it is all for the Breakwater dock, is where there's a substantial amount of the damage. There's a little bit of damage on the central dock as far as some twisting of piers and some tightening of the dock. And then the south dock has a few whalers also that need to be replaced on it.
So it's not, we're rebuilding the marina, because we just did, what, a $3 million thing with Billingham after the last hurricane?
The other repairs other than the Breakwater dock are very minimal.
Okay, I just want to make sure we know. And also, we don't have a grant application for the SAPWD. We just have a copy of the one for Find, and our charter is different. And that grant application has questions in it about how does it apply to our charter. Is it possible to get an application directed towards us as a government entity and not just a copy of the Find application?
We were directed to try to move forward and secure the funding as quickly as possible so we can move forward with the repairs and bring the facility back to full operational status again. Right now, currently, it's unsafe to moor anything.
Right. Well, the thing about emergency, we have to issue a resolution, and it needs to be legally executed, even though we haven't done that in the past. How can we possibly do that in one day? Can that be done in one day, Mr. Meek?
We don't have to issue a resolution, we just
If
have
we're
to
going to
vote on
vote to spend
approving.
all this money, we have to issue, it's a resolution, is it not, Mr. Meek?
Application that we vote on.
Right, it's a grant application, that we don't have an application for, and when we vote on it, do we not have something in the form of a resolution, which is what the city does when they vote to spend money?
As I understand the form of the question, no, a resolution would not be required if the majority of the commission voted in a proper format to spend the money. It would not need to be reduced to a resolution in this circumstance.
But you have been giving us resolutions recently, so you can understand my concern why we don't have this in writing.
Okay, can I just maybe
I'm sorry, I
shed
was
some
speaking.
light
I'm
on
sorry,
it?
I was speaking.
Okay,
I'll stop. You go ahead, speak, ma'am.
Well, I was going to maybe try and help clarify. Just a thought. This is a little bit of a different procedure. This is a grant application where a third party is coming in seeking funds that we have already established in our budget. A resolution is different from a grant application.
When did we establish repair of the marina in our budget?
This is part of unspecified marine projects. That's a big
We
line item in our
did that
budget.
we specified that for the repair of the city marina in our budget, because I do not recall that. Ms. Elise, do you recall that?
No, you'll note that the
She
word
doesn't
is
know that.
unspecified. It does not specifically specify anything, but the point is that we have that money available, and in particular
So that's what you're
available-
saying, is you don't think we need a resolution because we have it in our budget under unspecified marine projects, and we can take it from there?
We don't need a resolution in general to spend money. We need a majority vote. That's how it always works.
Wonder why the city wonder why we bother to have a resolution in our charter if we're not going to put this vote in writing and file it away. Don't oh my God me. It's really important we have a paper trail for the money that we spend, because we don't have a video for people to watch. If they wanted to know what happened here, they would have to pay money to order one of these CDs.
No, that's not true.
No,
They just-
sir, ma'am, let me finish. I'm talking right now. And the reason why is because they can't see this application. We don't have anything online. They can't see anything all they can hear is what we're talking about briefly. They can hear this, but they cannot see the application. They can't see all of the writing that's on there. They can't even see that it's not even a grant application for this form of government. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I've got a couple
One
questions.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
First, the resolution here that's included in the material you sent to us, has that been passed by the city yet?
No, so it is a draft. When I forwarded our application that I tried to put together as quickly as possible, that it is purely a draft. This morning I forwarded that for inclusion on the next city commission meeting, which the earliest I could get it scheduled for is November 14th. And then the FIND meeting where we defend the grant, and that'll be something that when I send it to FIND, I'm actually supposed to send it in prior to that. I'll have to amend my application by sending in the signed copy from the city commission,
Right.
if they approve it.
I think Carl wants to say something.
Oh, hang on, let's get to Chris. Chris has been waiting to ask a
Just a
question.
couple questions. Fine, you're looking for a grant, and you're looking for $250 from us. Now, is that just a rough estimate, or have you gotten any kind of a ballpark estimate on the repairs?
Basically, it's our estimate from our harbor master.
Yeah, just
Okay.
based on prior repairs and costs.
Second question is, if we get the $250, at some point, you're going to pay us back when FEMA gives you the money.
Right.
One thing I wanted to close out with was that, so if the city gets approved for the the FEMA public assistance, sorry, too many acronyms, the FEMA, when or if the city gets approved for the FEMA public assistance, they will cover the cost up to a certain point to repair to prior storm damage. They will only cover 10% of the mitigation costs. Beyond those mitigation costs, the city would like the opportunity to utilize both the port funding, if approved, and fine funding, if approved, to harden those docks and harden those pilings.
So what are the chances if this thing is finished and complete, and then you go to FEMA for reimbursement? They go, well, it's done, y'all are, just curious. I mean, Carl could probably talk to that.
Carl Blow, Florida Navigation District, excuse me. Commissioners, I just came today to maybe give you some background on our experience. We worked with the city in the past on these hurricane damage grant requests, and I've got a little handout here that, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and hand this out real quick.
And another question I had is, that, not only is it a breakwater, but that's a revenue stream for you as well. I mean, you rent out spaces on both sides of that dock.
It's kind of our large yacht dock. It can hold up to a 200-foot yacht, and it's got some catamaran slips attached to it as well.
Thank you, Carl.
So 500,000 is not the total cost of all of this. It's going to be north of $1 million, I expect, right? When all is said and done. So the city is going to be paying the balance, of whatever, the difference between, if we pay $250 and Find pays $250, the city's going to make up the balance. When FEMA writes you a check to reimburse, how big is that check going to be? And then what is the priority of repayment? Are you guys repaying yourselves first, and then we're getting whatever's left? How is that going to work?
Well, if I can jump in real quick, just since I gave you this handout, and correct me if I misspeak. FEMA is basically an insurance company, or they act like an insurance company. And our experience with the city is that the city is very good at dealing with FEMA as far as submitting claims. And typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, FEMA on a good day will reimburse up to 80 or 75%. And then you have the state of Florida that will give you 12.5% on if everything works perfectly. And so then the local government has to come up with the other 12.5%. What the handout is just to give you some background. Find has provided grant funding for the city in the past for hurricane damage. And basically, just to show you how things, and there's no guarantee here. I'm just showing you historic experience here, because you never, this is basically insurance claim, so you never know how it's going to turn out. But anyway, back when, I guess it was Hurricane Matthew, heavily damaged the Lighthouse Park Pier, it turned out the repair cost was $396,000. And after like 18 months or so, all of a sudden this check shows up from the city of St. Augustine for $46,919. And that's basically reimbursement, because in the end, after the negotiations with FEMA, it turned out that we were reimbursed that amount of the initial grant. Our initial grant was $92,788. So we got roughly 50% of our grant money back on that one. On the city marina, on that repair cost, that was the same dock we're talking about, right?
South dock.
Oh, that's the south dock. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was the Irma.
We had to replace the entire south dock.
Yeah, that was the Irma damage. So same thing, we provided $625,000, and it turned out they did a really good job in negotiating with FEMA, and we got a check back for $246,000. I just came today to just give you some history on our experience in these situations with the city of St. Augustine. There's no guarantee. I can't guarantee, what FEMA's going to do. But if it gives you any comfort, this is the experience we've had with the city on this.
I'm afraid it doesn't give me a lot of comfort, given that FEMA's got their hands full with Hurricane Ian right now.
Well, remember, the beauty of FEMA is unlike this board, our board, the state of Florida, they print their own money. So,
One other question on the FEMA reimbursement. They're an insurance provider that puts it back into the condition that it was, but you said you were trying to provide for additional reinforcement. So I'm assuming that portion is going to be off the negotiating table, since they're not legally obligated to put you into a better position than when you were first damaged.
You said 10% they'll reimburse.
You did say 10%.
10% according to the Stafford Act. And thanks, Commissioner Blow, for recognizing that. We really look after what's called a duplication of benefits, and especially with the federal funding streams like that, there's always a clause in the grant applications that talk about duplication of benefits. So in the previous storm, for Hurricane Irma, we went for that grant with Find, and in Matthew, we went with Find also to get that funding up front. But then we noticed that duplication of benefits, and so we calculated with our finance department on what our cost share was, and then what FEMA didn't pay for, and we utilized that funding source from that different funding source to offset that, and then refunded back to the original funder.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Commissioner Flowers made a really good point. Why is it not insured?
Because what do you mean? That's insane, Carl. Everybody I know, I've got insurance on a dock.
Well, the premiums, I've tried to get insurance.
What you're saying is the premiums are high. But you know what's high? $3 million of taxpayers' money to fix a dock again. Now, let me just ask y'all a question. Jim sent me an estimate from Billingham Marina of $3 million. That was just a couple years ago. $3 million. Supposedly, a $90,000 check that we gave for the Lincolnville kayak launch and another $30,000 check we gave for the cock boat went into that project, is what I was told. But now, the $3 million project was not actually done. Is this like all part of that whole big thing, that original estimate from Billingham is now going to be done? Is our $90,000 and $30,000 sitting over there now waiting to go? Because that's what I was given as a reason that where that money went.
I'm not familiar with the emails that Jim sent you on
Okay, I'm
that
sorry,
matter.
but Jim did send me a $3 million. Are you familiar, Eric? A $3 million estimate from Billingham, and apparently that's where he said our money went from the kayak launch. You see my concern?
I do understand,
So
but
now
I
I'm
remember,
getting another, I've already got that from Jim, and I understand we've had another hurricane, but I don't think that was done. Anyway, I'm very concerned about the fact that we don't have a proper grant application for this state agency, this small district. That grant application belongs to another agency. We would definitely have to have that proper. An interlocal agreement isn't a grant application.
All right,
So
it's
if you could bring that
stronger
to
than a
us.
grant application.
Excuse me,
Well, I
Yes,
know
I'm done, sorry.
on the side of insuring docks, it's very difficult, and if you went 2 or 3 years without a storm, you would have spent the money to pay for the whole dock again.
I'd like to see an estimate of that, rather than us just throwing that out there. I'd like to see an estimate of what it would cost to insure the docks if we're going to rebuild them.
that's part of the HR department and their risk assessment team, and I can talk to our
Yeah.
HR director, but
And if the weather is going to get worse and worse, it might be worth it.
that would be their position for
Because
this.
I'm really concerned why I was given a $3 million estimate after Billingham had told me, and I was told that's where our $120,000 went, and it turns out nobody even knows about this $3 million estimate.
Again, I know our goals with the municipal marina really align with the Port Waterway and Beach District, and also the Florida Inland Navigation District, is to provide commercial and recreational access to the local waterways and intercoastal waterways. So we're trying to get back up and back healthy and back fully operational as soon as we can.
Absolutely.
So which
This
is why
is-
we turned
yeah.
around that request for bids within a week. You know, we try to reach out for all of our funding partners who help us achieve that goal, and that's why we're here today.
Has Bellingham, are they going to be bidding on?
We believe they
I
will.
would assume so, yes.
Who else? Is there anybody else that,
In the past, we've had very little other bidders, some other marine contractors, but history shows that there's not too many.
This being a FEMA-funded project, we also, one of the constraints with doing procurement for a potentially federally funded project is to include all the minority and women business enterprises. So we cast a wide net. We went to the Florida, this OSD site for Office of Supplier Diversity, and we downloaded all the marine contractors, and I think we got at least 94 to 100 contractors that we send it out to. And I mean, we really can't help if they don't respond, unfortunately.
I have a question for Elise. Can we afford this? Can we afford this? I mean, we've got a lot already in unspecified funds. We've committed to $335,000 for the dune walkovers for the beach, 1.5 for the Genovar contribution for that land acquisition.
The 1.5 is already out the door.
Okay.
but we're down to 1.3 in our reserve.
We don't have the extra 1.5 million anymore.
Okay, that's all off the table.
That's
So
all
we're
off the
working.
table. There is no reserve.
They got their check.
We have about $1.5 million in the
We have
bank,
one-
but
yeah.
330 some odd, so
This
we have about
starts the new fiscal
1.2
year.
uncommitted right now.
So whatever you guys can afford.
Well, we had, Carl, I think we discussed this in the past about, what kind of money we would need to keep in reserve for the inlet. And we kind of thought that $1 million would handle it in an emergency.
Yeah, over the years, that has been the Port District's budget for an emergency dredging of the inlet in case you had a storm that closed the inlet. The idea being that you'd have to get the Corps to send one of their dredges down here, and they're running about $30,000 a day. And the $1 million was just a a plug number. I mean, you wouldn't know how much it would actually cost, but, the Curry Tuck's 30,000 a day, and it only moves about 5,000 yards, I think, in a 24-hour period, maybe. So $1 million probably is a reasonable amount to keep as a reserve for that. In that case, it would, I think, would qualify for a FEMA reimbursement, but the trouble with FEMA, it takes you a year to 18 months, sometimes 2 years to get reimbursed. So
I just would like to say something about the new budget year. I think we budgeted for revenue of 700,000. You're asking for 250,000, right? There you go.
Okay, but I thought we started this meeting with, it's a new fiscal year.
It's now, yes, we're starting.
And the
this-
1.5 is
That's-
part of the new fiscal year is already
That was
going?
the old one. So we
Okay.
have $1.1 million
In reserve.
the money market account.
Okay.
That's what you have. And what you have for the year, that we budget for the year is approximately 700,000. So, and then there's specified the use for that money, but there was a balance left after all the expenses of approximately 500,000. 450, 500,000, I don't
But this
have-
wouldn't be coming out of the money market because it doesn't really
No,
comport with the.
it would be coming out of the
Right.
700,000 that we
Right.
get for the year.
Right.
And we only have 500,000 of it, because everything is already used, it's earmarked for the regular expenses.
Right.
So that's what you have, is 500
If we-
approximately.
If we keep $1 million in reserve, that frees up $112,000 that we could put towards that without digging into our $1 million inlet reserve. Is that-
But just in point of clarification, at least can correct me if I'm wrong, the money that has already been pledged to St. Augustine Beach for the walkovers would be deducted from the 1.5 approximate.
That's what I was trying to get.
1.5 has already been paid.
No, the 1.3, I thought that's left.
Money
That's
to
where it's coming out
St.
of.
Augustine Beach has not been paid. It's been committed but not paid.
For how much?
335,000.
Oh, no, we haven't paid that yet. No, that was committed last.
Comes out of the 1.3 million in the money
That
bucket.
that was committed the prior fiscal year.
Right.
So that's going to come out.
So we're down to what, 7 something or whatever?
Seems to me like we might put the cart before the horse, because the fine grant hasn't been approved yet, and the city has not signed and approved the resolution. So I feel like that I'm not against supplying the funds needed to do this, because I know it needs to be done. Because I saw how it did protect the boats and the boat slips that were inside the breakwater. I saw the pictures that you sent. So I would propose that we would approve, perhaps in general without a vote, just to agree that if these things fall into place, then we will consider supplying some funds to the
But they need to
project.
get on their feet now. Like this, they're losing revenue by the day.
Well, wait a minute now. The marina is already reopened. Okay, number one. You guys have come to us without any bids. You've come to us without, there's no insurance, without a grant application. There's no protocol being followed. And we don't even have a resolution from the city yet. I, like you, Tom, I think it's important, number one, on the application, I'd like it to include everything that the money's going to be spent for. And I would like something in writing from this board, so that if a constituent wants to come back later and say, hey, where was that money spent on, they don't have to order a CD. But if you would come back to us with some bids, some valid bids, and at least a grant application, I would vote for it. But
So
I wouldn't vote for it, because I've been asking for that for years, and y'all aren't doing it yet.
I have a question. Was the breakwater in place when Irma hit?
Yes.
Did it receive?
More of a southeast wind.
Okay. Did it receive any damage?
No, there was very little during Irma.
Was it in place when Matthew hit? And what about that time?
That time we replaced about 30 of the unit floats.
Because that hurricane was a lot worse, I think, than Ian was. but Ian seemed to do more damage.
Yeah, Matthew kind of exceeded the piling height. The wave action caused it to crash back through, which caused the damage to the concrete flows.
This was mainly the angle of the wind hit,
Yes.
and the waves hit it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the breakwater dock is primarily for northeast winds.
You experienced the nor'easter effects before the storm.
Yeah, you're usually getting 24, 36 hours of nor'easter effects before the storm, which it weakens you a little bit.
And what's proposal for fortifying that breakwater? I mean, you put something on the north side of the bridge, or?
Well, with the pilings themselves, the 15 in a row, we've requested for further embedment. They're 35 feet now. We've asked for their engineer to embed it further at their specifications they feel is necessary. And then also taller pilings to match or exceed the other marina pilings.
What's the water depth there?
It varies from the northwest corner is about 12 feet, and then the northeast corner goes down to right around 20 feet or so. And then an additional 8 pilings in that location as well, so increasing the pilings by about 50%. And some of those will go with the float modules being replaced, will go inside the float module. The other 6 of them will be installed, hopefully on the outside of the breakwater dock with brackets to kind of disperse that load through 20-something miles versus 50.
With the damage to the breakwater dock, I foresee the mitigation options that Eric is providing is going to easily surpass the FEMA's 10% mitigation allowance. And that's why we're here in front of the Port Waterway Beach District today, and next month we'll be down in front of the Florida Inland Navigation District.
But
Yeah,
the city
so-
marina is open and operating
Yes, we
in full.
Yes,
Yeah, so it's not like we're not losing any money right now to hurry into this, just to make that clear.
with the pilings and the damage to the dock, if we get even a nor'easter blowing 30 miles an hour, those docks could come loose, the pilings could push over further, so that's kind of where the urgency with the repairs are.
And
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Is this the other, is it a problem, Ms. West? Are you sure?
I am.
We're just spending, how much? $250,000 of taxpayers. So I missed that part. You're talking about the other docks, not the breakwater that the application is for. What were you saying there? I just missed what you were saying.
The dock is the breakwater.
Yeah, the dock itself, the breakwater, that is where all of the damage is primarily.
Right.
The central dock and the south dock are fully operational.
Right, so is any money being lost at this point?
There are slip rentals on that dock as well for yachts up to 200 feet, and then catamarans up to.
On the outer dock, okay.
Breakwater dock, yes.
So it's not just the breakwater, but also the dock that runs parallel with the river. You're not putting
Yes,
anybody
yeah,
out there
our
because it's
outside
all
dock.
broken.
That section of the dock is okay due to the amount of pilings
Right.
that were installed in that area. However, access to that point, we can't dock boats out there because it's too dangerous to walk out to that point.
When do you think they can come and start the repair?
There's, the bid is November 9th, I believe. So once we have that, we can.
But it's going to be a little while for them to stage.
Once they have that, materials have to be built, pilings have to be made. So hoping March, springtime, they can be there mobilized.
So the grant application, I actually thought the duplicative nature of just copying the fine grant was more than enough information. It actually was one of the most thorough applications that we've had. It really isn't all that onerous to fill out ours, however. It's like a one-pager, super easy peasy, check a couple boxes. And so in order to appease some of the procedural deficiencies that other commissioners have mentioned, I suggest that might not be the worst idea to just go ahead and make it applicable to this agency. And in terms of minutes, I do want to address the fact that it is really easily searchable to find where these funds go. A quick search of our minutes, which is readily available on our website, you can find that information. But in terms of the grant application, if you guys could take care of that, it's an easy little check mark. It would clean up this application. I certainly don't want to hold back moving forward with getting this taken care of. Simply because of one pager was not filled out, but we've been pretty diligent this past couple of 2 years about making sure that other grant applications, meet that procedural requirement, and it wouldn't be fair if we were inconsistent with you guys. So if you could take care of that, would be good.
I've gone as far as to call the city manager and tell him, please don't send you guys in here for a vote without a proper grant application. I've gone that far. If you're good, it is a great deal of information, I appreciate it. When you make it applicable to our agency, you could just staple it together. That way, when that amount of information can go all to our taxpayers. Because just so you know, right now, I'm looking for a resolution on how the $90,000 kayak launch was reallocated. We don't have anything in writing. And minutes are not a resolution. Minutes don't cut it when you don't put something in writing. Those expire and go away. Would you mind, I've been waiting for that CD, and Mr. Meek told you not to give it to you. I'm waiting for a CD that has the discussion of reallocating the $90,000 for the kayak launch in Lincolnville.
Talking about the one where I sent you the minutes from...
You said the minutes is not, because, wait a minute, because we have no written resolution that I can go to the office and pick up. We have zero in writing that was reallocated. Minutes do not cut it. Minutes it's not a legal document, it's in that term.
What I'm trying to say is you just want the audio...
Like I've asked at least 3 times, I want to hear, since we don't have it in writing that the taxpayers deserve, I need to hear them vote. I don't know if Jim came in here and just told them what to do or what.
I was trying to get with the web host because this is a different kind of program. You can't just put a CD in there.
I've literally not received a response from you asking for that important public record.
Can we save this for commissioner
Respond to
comments?
me before we get here.
This does not have anything to do with
Yeah, I'm sorry, but she just said on public that you can easily find these votes by searching the minutes. The minutes is not a resolution. That's not good enough.
The audio, I can send you over the audio. All the audios are online. Anybody can pick up an audio.
This one's not.
That was from 2007.
Right, and Mr. Meek told you not to give it to me until you got... I've been through all this in writing.
No.
I just want to know how can I, listen, I have sent you a, I have sent a written...
The agenda item.
I have sent you a written request for the, I'll put it in my comments. I'll put it in my comments.
I asked to be recognized.
Yes, go ahead.
The resolution number 2022-37, which has not been signed by the mayor yet, it says that the city manager is hereby authorized to apply to the Florida Inland Navigational District for a grant funds from its disaster emergency relief program not to exceed 25% of the total estimated cost, which is $1 million, $250,000. The city manager is further authorized to complete and execute all documents. That needs to be done. In my opinion, this needs to be done first with the city, and then we need to know that the fund is going to accept it. And what I would like this board to do would be to simply not make a motion, but just let them know that we are in agreement of using these funds to repair the breakwater, and then come back after we have those documents, and then we'll vote on it.
Can I just ask a couple more questions about the project? Corey, the people are coming to bid when? You're having a meeting?
The pre-bid meeting is tomorrow.
Okay, now they're not aware of the damage. You're taking them to the site, they're going to look at it.
Well, in the scope of work advertised in the bid, they have an idea of what's there. This is the opportunity for them to come, put boots on the deck, and then see.
And what kind of turnaround time do you estimate for them to come back with a quote?
So the bids are due, the opening of the bids are due November 9th at 2:15.
Okay.
The bids are due at 2, and the bid opening is
Well,
at
I think we got a little time to
Commissioner
do that.
Rivers, so the previous time we filed that I've seen in our paperwork for filing for one of these emergency reconstruction grants through the Florida Inland Navigation District, quite honestly, the procedure, what we did, we got the application in, and then actually afterwards, unfortunately, due to scheduling and getting it on the agenda for the city commission, it was signed after also. So that precedent has been set once, but I agree with you, sir, in that, yes, generally, we think the city commissioners approve of proceeding forward with this project, but unfortunately, just due to the timeliness, we're just trying to get our best foot forward and moving forward on getting this marina back. Because one thing that Eric noted was that he's not expecting a contractor to be mobilizing until March. And what we're coming into is we're coming into our season where we have the nor'easters. So, anything breaks loose of that breakwater dock, and then it could potentially, even though we're up now at the marina, okay, and we're at a limited capacity, could potentially take out other infrastructure, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to get our best foot forward and get this moving.
Let me ask you this, in the bid, is it possible to get them to secure or remove the things that could be cut loose before March? I mean, is that a possibility? I know I've seen some of the flows.
Yeah, I don't know per se.
Making it weak.
We'd have to look
You know,
and
if it
see
weaken
because then we've got to store those good modules. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
We've
just a thought that you
never
could
had pre-construction.
secure
type.
some of the stuff that's in danger, but.
We'll definitely ask that question tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll get their opinion on, what are these pilings in immediate danger now? Do they need to be addressed right away? Or can we wait 4 or 5 months?
When Bellingham brought those original floats, how did they get them there? Were they on a barge?
Yes.
Okay.
So do we have a motion on the floor to approve this? No, Tom has asked us to punt until next meeting, right? You want to?
Yes.
Well, that would require
I'll
a motion.
second that.
But it needs to be in the form of a
I
motion.
think that needs to be in the form of a motion, though, Tom, because essentially we're just deferring a vote on this, right?
Because will this be presented at the next city commission meeting?
Next that is scheduled to go for the commissioners on November 14th.
Okay.
So Tom, the two conditions you want to see is an executed resolution and a filled out grant application.
And the fine application.
I'd like to see the bids.
And then it would be required that fine secures the funds, then if we're in, we're in. But what if fine doesn't?
Yes.
Carl?
That's a good question. The way we're currently set up is fine carries $1 million in our budget for hurricane damage.
Is it by zone? I mean, is it by district?
For our 12 counties. So and the way it works is this will be on our agenda just like it's on your agenda. And I've got, right now I have 10 commissioners. We're shy of 1 commissioner right now. So we'll discuss it just like you guys have discussed it. And it will be, an interesting discussion. I'm glad I'm here listening to you. You've asked some really excellent questions. But anyway, we'll review it and decide on what to do. The big advantage we have over you guys right now is when they come to us, you'll have cost information, right? So they'll have much more information to provide the fine board. But I anticipate that, this is a terrible thing to do to speak for your fellow board members, but from what I've seen in the application, I think it will be received in a positive manner by the fine board, but there's, no guarantees.
Well, Carl, if the city isn't competing for money from fine with, say, Fort Myers.
Well, no, fine is only on the East Coast,
outside of
right?
our district.
Okay.
Why
Outside.
I'm optimistic
Okay.
about this is just kind of from what I've heard, there was no damage in South Florida from this hurricane. And because we're the,
And
the East Coast
ours.
counties.
I am
if there was-
compelled to point out, if the district includes Volusia County,
Yeah.
there will be applications.
Yeah, that's
I can
the
guarantee you that.
one
Why is he
that
talking?
I'm interested in seeing.
To provide information.
You have no business talking without permission.
Knock it off.
Oh, okay, he can interrupt, but a elected commissioner can't say a thing about his interruption.
But anyway,
You need
that's,
permission to
that,
talk.
that,
I
that
do
is
not.
one county that we may see some applications from.
Right.
So there would be some competition there possibly. But I haven't heard of anything coming from Volusia County yet.
There's significant beach erosion.
We don't
in-
do beach erosion.
Yeah,
But
it's only in the
there's
navigation.
a lot of damage, Daytona Beach shores, Daytona Beach itself, Ormond Beach. To the extent they do not submit applications, I do not know. but I
Commissioner
speak
Meek.
firsthand. Commissioner Flowers, don't interrupt me. I can speak firsthand.
Commissioner
Damage
Meek.
in all-
Let him finish.
There is also damage within Volusia County proper, specifically in Ponce Inlet, which is part of their port district subsumed by their county. There will be applications.
Right. Now, one thing about Ponce Inlet, there's a big dredging project coming for Ponce by the Corps. So if it has to do with shoaling or that, that's probably going to be covered. Now, you're right in that it's possible we can see something coming from Volusia County, plus all the municipalities. We've provided grant funding to the city of Daytona. Geez, what all this?
South Daytona,
South
Port Orange,
Daytona,
Ormond Beach.
and Edgewater. Too.
Edgewater would also.
So
be-
anyway, that is a possibility. So there could be some competition there. But I'm not aware of anything yet that is coming.
And again, to be clear, I'm not saying I'm aware of applications. I'm aware firsthand of damage in all those governmental entities as a result of this storm.
But to answer your Commissioner Way's question, those are the areas that apparently were, Volusia County and St. Johns County were the two counties that I'm aware of that were impacted by the storm. I don't think Flagler County's coming in with anything, and Duval County isn't.
You feel pretty good about our chances of getting this money from,
Yeah, I mean, but I've
Good
got
enough for me,
these
Carl.
fellow commissioners, and, they're all very independently.
Well, we'll know a lot more by the time we meet again next month.
Yes.
Right? So, Commissioner Rivers, do you want to pull that together in a motion?
Essentially move to table this until next
Well,
month.
you
when-
don't table until you have a motion, so I
Well,
would
that's what we're asking.
move that we bring this issue back up at the November meeting. And if you want to come back to us at that time and perhaps bring a signed resolution, okay?
I'll second that.
and get us any info you can in the meantime, so that when we meet the next time, we can see how we can help out. But I'm in favor of helping out, I know.
Yeah, but I think we should add to it, it's not part of the motion. It's just that let the gentleman here from the city know that we all probably be agreeing to this.
Well, what if we do this then? Why don't we just pull this back? We'll come back with the next meeting. We'll have the resolution. We'll fill out the grant application. And then we can call this just an informational, background information for the board. And then we can come back next month with the request.
Okay. And I appreciate you sending all this information, including these pictures. If you do something like that so that we have in advance what you're going to be talking about when you come in November, it would be great.
You guys are great partners, and we appreciate having you here,
Thank
so
you.
we'll be back next month.
Great, thank you. Next item is item B1, SAPD boat lift damage replacement. Officer Harvey?
Pat Harvey with the City PD Marine Unit. During the same storm, and Ms. Elise and I have talked beforehand, I have actually sent the completed, I did not have bids until they just showed up on my phone while we were waiting, so I do have a number now. So I did send you the full copy as well as photos. I know you guys don't have that, but I wasn't able to send it because I didn't have the number.
What did that come to?
$9,000.
And that'll repair or replace it?
Repair existing.
You said 9, not 90?
Nine.
Nine.
Nine,
Sorry,
okay.
9,000. During the storm, when the water rose, it lifted the dock up, which then submerged the motors, as well as ripped all the electronics off, unwound the wrappings, or what you call the cables.
Is it a deco, the lift?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's two separate quotes that come in. One was $3,400 to do the mechanical portions of it, and $6,500, I'm sorry, I just got it, so the numbers are fresh in my mind, to do all the electronics and the motors. So again, I apologize for not having it in your hand, because I was actually just going to come up here and tell you that I didn't have any information, but I just got it. So at least you are, okay. So the full application is there with photos of what it looked like. The marina staff did take some of the stuff down because it was arcing and had to remove some of the electronics. So what you do see is what it looked like post-storm, where everything was when we came back to the dock. But all said, replacing parts that were broken, but repairing existing dock, not replacing the whole lift, is $9,000.
You just have the boats in the marina, just in a slip now?
It's in a slip now, which I have to pull every couple days, because as you guys know, you guys give some finances for that vessel. It collects things on the bottom very quickly, so I take it out every 2 days, so I have to clean it.
Officer Harvey, if we just repair the existing, then we're going to be still vulnerable to this extra high tide. Is there any way to, another foot or two on the repair, or possibly replace it with something we know not's going to sink?
Right. The only thing that I would do as far as mitigation for myself is I would remove the motors. That's a very large component of this. I believe the motors are very expensive. They are going to put, the quote is for stainless steel motors to assist in that. However, I myself would take them off to mitigate that in the future.
Okay.
If we're thinking of high water or storms, I would do the mitigation myself, or the city would.
So
Make
instead
sure
of building higher or getting something bigger, just pre-storm, go down there and take the motors off and they can,
Yes,
it
ma'am,
can
and the
flood?
cost, if we
Okay.
were to try to go higher, the cost, we'd need pilings, we would need girders and things like that, would be an
Okay.
exorbitant amount of money.
So it's just motor removal, fix
Motor
it?
removal, as well as possibly they're going to make a quick disconnect for the box as well.
Okay.
I was going to recommend that, and all our lifts, everything's quick
Quick
disconnect.
disconnect, so
And
that I
they-
could remove anything that, in this case, would be replaced with that 9,000. I would be able to take that stuff off, store it in a safe location to be able to reinstall afterwards, which would be no cost to you guys at that point. It would be stuff we would put back on.
I would just have Deco replace those pumps with quick disconnect. They can do
They
it.
can do it,
They
right.
typically don't, but they could.
Right, and that's one of the things we discussed when we had the folks come out.
That was a little more water than we thought, even this last time, a little deeper than we thought it was
Yeah,
going to be.
it came in kind of high, so.
Okay.
but
I
that's,
motion for that. Good repair.
I'll second it.
Any additional discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All set.
Thank you.
Item B2, Beaches Go Green funding request. Anne Marie Moquin.
I don't see her here.
Not here. All right. Next, item C, construction of seawall near Summerhaven. Commissioner Flowers.
Yes, I sent everybody, constituents sent that to me. I think the Turtle people have gotten involved. This is just for the public to know, we have a North Summerhaven home who has repaired, not, some of it was repair of an existing wall, it looks like, that had no permit, and some of it was just a brand-new rebuild of a seawall. I've sent that to you guys. I've been going back back and forth with the Florida DEP on that, and I'm trying to get the file, because it's square in the Ports District, and I would think that I'd like to bring it to the attention. I believe I've sent you guys pictures of that, this new seawall.
Yeah, we got them.
And I'd like to look into it, because according to the FDEP, one of the guys over there, that house has never had an approved permit. And I would like the port's attorney to look into that, receive that file, and see what is our constituent doing down there, building his own seawall. And according to one of the FDEP employees, that's never been approved for that site. It's one thing, the existing riprap. So, you know, that's some pretty serious, you know, now that he's doing it, you're going to have other people building their own seawall, and he's also putting a sand dune up in the backyard. None
Yeah,
of which
there's
was
actually
approved.
quite a bit of litigation on that one.
So do you know something about this that you could catch us up on that particular?
Yeah, I can look in some old client files. I know exactly the house you're talking about,
Yeah.
and it's really problematic.
It belongs to a business up in North Carolina, and the last thing I was told is the FDP was sending them a letter that this was not permitted.
Unauthorized, yeah.
If DEP is already doing something, why are we
Because
also going to do something?
well, it's in the Ports District, squarely in our district, and, for example, when that guy in Ponte Vedra went out with a bulldozer and took the beach and made his own sand dune in front of his house, I was really disappointed when the county, you know, people had to hire somebody individually to do something about that. So here you got something in the Port District, I think we should at least stay on it.
Well, explain it again, this is about private property?
Yes, sir.
In Summerhaven?
It's the south end of North Summerhaven, like right before that new berm that we just built a couple years ago, and is actually kind of hanging in there. I don't know about right now.
It's the
but
last
it's
house.
right. It's the last house in North Summerhaven, and it's really going to.
Seawall issue should go to the county.
County has. They don't know what's. I've talked to the county about this too. And
I'm having a problem. This is neither here nor there for the board, but after Ian, I had problem with my seawall. In order to do anything down there, I have to get an emergency permit from the county. So it's the county.
Well, this is on the east side of this line now, this CCL line. I've had to educate myself with this, and that's why I keep sending y'all the emails. It'd be nice if we had somebody to brief us. But there's a line now, and if you're to east of that line, and that line, all that stuff, all of North Summerhaven is east of that line, you'd work with the FDEP, the county, doesn't permit those walls. That's what was told me by the FDEP,
Well, I
and that's
think
what
if
I'm
you go out
saying.
the hierarchy, the county should be notified to look into it. And then if they say that's not in their jurisdiction, then we go to the next level.
Right, that's what I spoke to Ryan at Environmental, and that's when I was explained that if it is east of that CCL line, it's a state issue. We are a state special district. I'm simply bringing it to the port's attention. I think we should get involved in what's going on down there because it's in our district.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Hearing nothing. New business D, Ocean Hammock Park Beach Access, Commissioner West.
Yeah, so this matter came to my attention a little over a week ago, and I've only put it on our agenda just so we can educate ourselves, because it does fall within our jurisdiction and falls within the mission of the Port Authority, because it pertains directly to beach access. And one of my concerns from a constituent basically explained that there was going to be the potential possibility for an additional dune breach, which concerns me with hurricanes. But in order to have a kind of an unbiased brief presentation, Max, I don't know if you're up for it. Max? Are you able to present any information on the Ocean Hammock Park issue? I asked Max Royal, he's the city manager for the city of St. Augustine Beach, and I asked him just to kind of fill us in and keep it on our radar. There is no pending permit application. They would never go through us for any permit ever, just to be clear. We're not that kind of agency, but I do think we should be aware of the issue just in case there are issues with a breach of a dune. So thank you, Max, for being here.
I'm Max Royal, City Manager, St. Augustine Beach. At this time, there's no proposal formally to the City Commission to move the walkway from its current location, which is on the south side of Ocean Hammock Park, from A1A Beach Boulevard to the beach. There is a proposal from a group of Sea Colony residents to move the walkway from the south section of the park to the center of the park. We are going to develop with state approval, a pavilion scenic overlook right in the center of the park and end it before it goes into the interdunal swale between the upland part of the park and the beach itself with a dune line. So the Sea Colony folks would like us to continue that center development of the park with a walkway all the way to the beach. As I said, there is no formal proposal to us yet for us to react to. It's all been just discussion. The Sea Colony people have said they will pay $600,000 to the city to move that walkway. We don't know whether that will cover the costs. So that's another thing we have to investigate. There's also Water Management District involved. Will they permit it? There's DEP involved. Will they allow us to go through the center of the property to the beach? They did permit the south access to the beach, but that was done back in 2005 or 6, quite a while back, when we got the original grant. So at this point, I've been told by the city attorney not to put anything on the agenda concerning this matter because he has to investigate whether the city commissioners may have some conflicts of interest because either they live in Sea Colony or one of them is an attorney who has represented Sea Colony residents in legal matters. So it's just sort of in abeyance at this point.
Why is Sea Colony so hot to move it, other than the obvious?
There's a perception by the Sea Colony people, and I'm not saying whether it's not founded or is founded, because I don't live there, that having the walkway so close to their subdivision means that members of the public who want to go to the beach, some of them, climb over the wall or the fence to Sea Colony and intrude into their neighborhood.
That happens on a regular basis, is that what they're saying?
Well, that is what some Sea Colony residents say.
So they want public money to build it, but they don't want the public to use it.
You can also check police records, and you'll note that it has literally never happened.
Well, I mean,
in
the
20
thing
years.
is, wait for a bid, and wherever the bid comes up, you can decide to move it, and just give the bill to Sea Colony, and
Well, they're not asking the public money be used to relocate the walkway. They're willing to pay the cost to relocate. We just don't know whether $600,000 is enough, because they want us to remove the old walkway, the Trex boards, for the walking part, as well as the
Islands.
posts that hold it in place, all the way back to the boulevard.
So if that wasn't an issue, would the city still want to do this park and walkway in the center of the property?
No, because it would be costing extra money for us to do it, and there's no reason, we already have a
So
walkway.
this is all being generated by the wants of the residents of Sea Colony,
That's right.
Yes.
I think. Okay.
Thank you, Max. I appreciate it. It's just something we'll keep on our radar. Again, my biggest concern was breaching that dune system. I think we just need to be very careful about protecting our residents and not breaching the dune.
My biggest concern would be making sure that the public has access to any public walkway that we build with their tax dollars.
They would, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the agenda. We are now back to public comment. Any members of the public would like to comment? Mr. Bender, Binder?
Nicholas Binder, 232 Big Magnolia Court, St. Augustine Beach. I agree with what Max had said. Again, this started March 7th. In terms of all the discussions, it was dealing with the bathroom issue, but the mayor and the attorney at the time both allowed the 3 citizens to come in and talk about the walkway, which was not on the regular agenda. With the third individual, after the other one showed the wonderful picture of the new house that was just finished 2 months before, next to the walkway, the third individual stood up and said, "I don't mean to be a bully and upset the little people here that use the walkway." And that started it all. All of this discussions, the overall attitude. We went through it back in the 2000s. When we got the walkway, we tried to be good neighbors. They had the safety fence there all the way through. If you do the walkway, look to see the areas where you can actually jump over the fence. One of the residents contacted the police. Based on a 5-year call report from the city police, it looks like there was 1 harassment call. There has been a handful of suspicious people calls a year, but more calls for citizen assist calls. That's the story. That's one of our residents contacted the local police in terms of this. Again, if you ever do get an application to consider another beach access, we would request that you give careful consideration and turn it down. Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I will say I use that boardwalk all the time for sunrise walks. It's easy. It's it's a little hidden gem for St. Augustine Beach residents. It's not very well known by the tourists, so it's
Is there
nice,
someplace-
easy
I'm sorry.
parking.
There's public parking of like 22 spaces.
Yeah.
When they build the bathrooms, they're going to have another parking space there for a handicapped vehicle. There is 1 handicapped space adjacent to Beach Boulevard.
Right.
That will have additional one. One of the concerns we have, and picture yourself walking through the middle of the woods, not elevated, concrete, through the woods in the morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock when the sun rises. Where do you feel safer? Walking through that walkway or on an elevated, secure walkway that's been there for 15 years?
And you say there's 22 parking places there at the
There's
walkway?
about 21 right now. They're going to be building
21,
one more.
okay.
And again, it's rustic parking.
Thank you.
It is very rustic parking.
Parking, yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Just so, thanks, commissioners, for listening to that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Any other public comment? Hearing nothing, comments by commissioners? Tom?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd move that we ask our secretary to send condolences to the family of Paul Waldron, who passed away earlier today. So send a
I'll
card
second
to the Waldron family in behalf of St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach Commission.
I'd second that.
Second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Great. Chris, any
No.
comments?
No comments.
Nothing from me. Jane? Sandy?
My comment is I would really like to have the record.
I've got talking to the web host.
Okay.
I'm going to see if she can send it, she has to transcribe it differently, and then just directly email it to you. So
I just will get the audio of somebody actually approved. Very good. Thank you so much.
I got that going.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. With no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Oh, pardon me, I do that every time. Next meeting will be Tuesday, November the 15th. Adjourned. Appreciate it.
All right. What's the next
next meeting?